Deze is hartstikke als een test.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Let's do this, guys. Man, guess what? Before we could go on,
What?
we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour
Yeah,
and
we are.
also the 2024 Ocean State Grand Nationals, April 5th through the 7th. This is going to be an epic event. And guess what?
Yep.
Virtual Fight Tour is going to be there as well. We didn't even get into that last week.
Ooh, it's gonna be a good one.
Go back and check out last week's show. We had the Rodriguez's on,
That was a fun one.
and they shared about the tournament, what all's going on, why they love it, and you know what? Like, by listening to them, go and support them, because man, they really love the sport. They really care about it, and I think that was what's really cool about it, right?
You know, there's a few people in martial arts where they really want to make their life just martial arts, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of us have decided that, right? That, like, for a certain degree, this is kind of an identity that I will just hang my hat on, that I am this. What I like about the Rodriguez's, and there's others that are like this, is they're holding a piece of their identity in what they can do for
Mhm.
martial arts after them because of what they did now, right? Which I
Right.
think is really cool. And there's a lot of guys. I mean, really, if you think about the character of martial artists and really promoters of tournaments, I mean, damn near all of them, I really love getting a chance to talk to and hanging around. And then there's sometimes, we have disagreed on whether or not they should be officials, because no, we agree that they should not be officials. We disagree with the fact that they're put in that position. I don't want to out them, but they're kind of put in that position. But I really think that, like, the Rodriguez's, salt of the earth, man, salt
Yeah.
of the earth kind of people, right?
Great people.
Oh, and go back, if you guys haven't listened to the episode yet, go back and listen to it. We talked about, favorite moments of Ocean State Grand Nationals pass.
Yeah.
And then for all of you guys who are traveling, both Don and Christine shared their favorite restaurant spots
Yep.
to go check out. So you're gonna
That's
have to
true.
tune in for that. So if you're there and you're like, I don't
True.
want to get Domino's pizza like every other NASCA tournament for the last 30, 40 years, they got a couple of spots.
Yes, definitely. All right, so sorry.
It's all good, Holmes.
Answering some questions. Anyways, for you don't know, Virtual Fight Tour is going to do their last man standing at the Ocean State again. Last year we had an epic last man standing with Alex Macias and Enrique Latona. And this year, I'm sure it's going to be even more awesome. And it's going to be a lot of great, a lot of great action, right? You have the open weight with all the money. You have the NASCA Grand Championships, and then you have the Virtual Fight Tour. You have, as we're going to get into more, just the amount of amazing women fighters that are on the circuit right now and how exciting that is. You have team fighting for men's and women's. There's just so much. You have amazing forms and weapons that's going to happen. You get to see, this is probably one of the bigger Kempo events you have. And then guess what? We do black belts on Friday and Saturday. Sunday is the underbelt. So it's kind of separate. So what's cool about it is that you don't have to be running around if you have bringing your school and you want to compete on Friday and Saturday. You don't have to be running around back and forth worried about that. I mean, if you have Black belt students, yes, but you can focus on yourself competing, and then the next day, all your underbelts growing and being ready. So I'm excited about the event. It really is just an amazing event. It's one we always did with CJB and Team Elite because
Yeah.
Conroy, up there and everything. It was always a big event for us. So some definitely some fun ones. Actually, let's see. I'm gonna go to one of my Facebook posts that I put up. Hopefully, I can find it because it was a while ago.
Ooh.
About memories from this event. All right. So, what were
I'm
your
ready to hear it.
favorite memories? All right. So, one thing, a new one, Bailey Murphy. That was his first overall grand championship. Was the
Yeah.
Ocean State Grand Nationals. So, I got about 37 comments from that on that one. What are some of your favorite moments from this event, guys? Comment. I've only got we got yes, Jonathan. Pizza's going to be good. All right. We have people saying, stepping on the floor for the first time. A lot of I have a lot of friends from that area, and was really really cool to hear about their first time competing was Ocean State, right? And yeah, I mentioned this one as well. Peter Fabrizio. Yeah, he always did well at Ocean States, and he was on stage. And that was actually the last time that I think that he competed before he passed away. Sammy Smith and Kenzie during the 2010 year. All right, I like it. Someone said they got their first concussion. Hey, that's a memory.
Oh, wow. You could say that. You could say that for a lot of people at a lot of events.
All right. This is the best one. This is from my instructor, my American freestyle instructor, right? And he goes center refereeing the NBL, and he said final team fight, but it was actually the overall grand championship at the 2000 Ocean State Grand Nationals. He was a center referee. Okay, this is the fight that we've shared about. Jason Tankson then versus Raymond Daniels for the overall grand championship, and he said he still calls Raymond the GOAT, and he goes, he got penalized 1 point for making contact with his coach during the break, which was a rule back then. And the center, my instructor, had to count the balls to say, hey, that's against the rule. Sorry, that's penalty point the other way. And said he never like that was a crazy, again, is the rule was taken away right after that. Okay. Not in the year, but later on. But you have to go by the rules. If you're the center, you got to go by the rules. Now, he said the most memorable part was when Raymond said to him after it was his fault. It was his fault. He should have never let the match go that way, right? Or even get that close. So that's why he said he always has respect for Raymond and Don. But that's always a good one. Let's see. Someone said that was the first time he got to compete. Fernando Serra said going against the legendary Kevin Thompson for Grands.
Yeah.
Yes. Infamous penalty point. That was 2000 there, Brett. Yeah, it was 2000. I wasn't at the I was at the 99 one, but the 99 one was a NASCAR tournament. Elijah says he watched Jackson Rudolph win the Ocean State Grand Nationals 14-17 weapons forms with the song Avenged Sevenfold Carry On. That was a big memory for him. Aaron Smith says continuous fighting. Aaron Smith's more known as a weapons competitor, forms competitor. She said first time doing continuous fighting. I've shared one of mine before, and that was me competing on stage. And when I got off of the stage, Carmichael Simon made it a point to come up to me and tell me that that was the best I had done yet. And then John Valera told me the same thing, and both of them were like together, making a point that they were proud of me and stuff. So that was, yeah. So, and listen to this.
What an endorsement.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was 95. I was 11. Listen to this group. This is our finals. Okay. So Jimmy Pham, Butch Marks, Jeff Doss, Guy Burkett, Justin Margotto, Jonathan Hillman, and Kingston Ng. That was the 7 that were in the finals. So
okay, there's probably a lot of listeners right now who are like, I mean, I think I remember who Jimmy Pham is, but like, Okay, listen, everyone Jeff
True.
just listed off.
Have grand
If they
championships,
had
have
if
world
they
titles.
had 312 grand championships per tournament, these like they did now, these guys would have won
Yeah.
them all, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of them are guys that you were like, wow, wow. And I think
Yeah.
almost all of them at one point had like a a a, a video on Black and Blue
Some of them
production.
did. Yeah, some of them did.
Yeah.
Some of them
I
did.
mean, they're really that good because when Wally would do that and have like what's one I'm thinking like an example would be something like Jason Bareilles was Need for Speed, right? And he would just kind of say, "Hey, here's some drills." Like those are really big deals. Like when we saw a
Right.
new one come out, like I mean, guys like me, like I'm like, give it to me. All right.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yep.
David Douglas's DVD. I wanted
Yep.
Donald Brady's DVD. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some of those, like to me, came out too late. Like Ronald and Donald Brady's to me coming out like 2000, 2001 was so weird to me. I was like, should we have gotten this like 95, 96? What the heck?
Yeah,
They've
but it
been
worked out
hiding this
perfect for me.
valuable information. They've been hiding it all the time.
Yeah, I get that.
So
what is this? The only
all
time
right.
beating Jamon Wiggins. That's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So I think one of the like overarching themes that we're kind of echoing right now is that the Ocean State Grand Nationals will just have you're gonna have some competitors that are damn good that are
Yep.
gonna have like an out of their mind performance.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's
that's just kind of a place where that is not uncommon for you to get a guy who just feels really comfortable in that setting and then just goes gangbusters, right? Whether forms, weapons, or fighting. All right. And you just see some like amazing stuff. I mean, a lot of Europeans that have come over and have done this, right? I think one of the ones who I thought, hey, could this be the next one was when Michael Page came over in 2010. And I'm like, ooh. And then I'm always like, I don't know, man. I was sitting down. I think I was sitting with Jason Borelli and we were just kind of chatting about him. And we're like, man, this guy, before I say one more word, he is a phenomenal champion. And I am so glad that he went full contact and MMA because I've said this before, but as great as he was a point fighter and he was great, he's even better full contact MMA fighter. Right. And I love to watch him.
While we're on that, congratulations to Michael Page for winning his first UFC fight this weekend.
Picking up what I'm throwing down.
Just showed exactly like just everything. He showed his arsenal, man. It was cool. The freaking spinning vertical elbow was insane. His blitzes were great. His round kicks.
Glad to see those back. Glad to see those.
Yeah.
Right.
It was awesome, man.
All right, awesome. Now I'm about to rip him. No, what was funny is at the time he wasn't that type of MMA fighter. I'm sure he did a lot of full contact training, but I mean, Jason and I were just sitting down next to each other and just going, this guy could be everything, but it just feels like he's trying to fight like Ray, right?
Yeah.
And we weren't the only ones to say this, by the way. We said it like with praise that like, listen, you're this good. Why are you trying to be somebody else? And then when he went full contact, he just did that times 1,000. Right. So now it's like, okay, well, never mind. Right now you are your own person. But I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the time? And then he like 360 round kick Bobby Wallace in the face, knocks him out. And I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be like, but then he doesn't win his division. And I'm like, well, this is crazy. Right.
Right.
How do you do that? But then not that, you know? And then when you see like Jesse Goldberg winning an overall, right? And then not like a lightweight overall or heavyweight overall. He was the last man standing before it was the last man standing. Or, oh gosh, why am I blanking? Come on. Top 10 USA. Help me out, Jeff. Coach. Troy Binns. All right.
Troy Binns. Yeah. Yeah.
Troy
Oh yeah.
Banks doing the same type of thing. When people are
Yep.
like, oh, Troy's kind of doing the coaching thing. He's a really good competitor. Nobody really was thinking like, yeah, he's gonna beat everybody in a tournament. Everybody thinks like, oh yeah, he's good enough that he could do it, right? But then he just goes and does it, and you're like, well, shit, what did you? What were we thinking,
Yeah.
right? He's phenomenal. But
He is.
one of the things I think of what's happened in Jackson, was I was chatting with Justin Ortiz. I think it was 2014. This is what I love about this guy, because he's JPM, right? And he's got to fight, and he does not have a bye. There's 3 guys in the finals. There's Justin, Laszlo, and Zolt. And he goes, I don't want the bye. I want to fight them both. If I'm going to win, I got to fight them both. And I'm like, damn, sucker's really going for it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm chatting with him, and he's like, dude, it's same team, but I want to beat these guys.
Mhm.
I want to beat them. I want to let them know that, like, no, I'm the guy. And I think that year he was better than them, right?
Yeah.
And he did beat them. And
Yep.
I don't want to make it look like because I got no affiliation, with the
Right.
team. But he came up to me and he was like, "Damn, told you I was gonna do it, Dingman. Told you I was gonna do it." And I'm like, and he really, really took some pride in that. So listen, just
Yeah.
because there's no cheering and there's no coaching when teammates fight each other, that doesn't mean they
Right.
don't want to win.
Correct.
I feel differently, and I think teammates should say, "Hey, I want this guy to coach me," even if it's the same team. Like if it's JPM versus JPM, if it's,
You mean you want there to be a coach? Okay, I see what you're saying.
why not?
Doesn't
That
matter.
would be cool, right? But
yeah, no, I mean
there's-
some great fights have been those head-to-head battles between teammates.
right?
And sometimes ones that some people don't know how it's going to be, right? I remember talking to Brian Plimple, and him and Jody had fought so many times before, but he said the first time when they fought as teammates, it was a little weird. He didn't really know what the game plan was and how he was going to fight him. But the thing is, Jody was like, "Listen, Brian, you've beat me like 3 times, 4 times. Like, what the heck? I'm gonna put it on you." And Brian was like, "All right, I didn't fight the way I should have fought against him, right?" So he's like, "I'm never doing that again. I'm gonna go all out." So it is, man. I mean, it's interesting.
It probably irritated Jody too, to feel like,
Oh yeah,
look at this guy's beaten me before, and he's not even fighting to what Jody probably felt like is the best of his abilities. So
Right.
I'm beating not his best version of himself because
Right.
he's not going all out or
Right.
or all of what he could do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No,
Man,
I think that event is fantastic. I think there's some like really iconic like form performances. What are some that you think of? Like, what? Give me like 2 of them that you think are
So
like,
I'm going to go back to that 2000s one because
yeah,
listen to this. Not only did Jason Tankson beat Raymond for the
Yeah.
overall grand, he beat Jimmy Pham for the overall forms grand in the same night. Let's go. I mean, like, who else
Yeah.
can say that, right? That was epic, right? That's just insane. And so that was a cool moment. Honestly, anytime Rudy performed, especially as a junior over there, it was just sick to me. It was always really cool.
Agreed.
And honestly, and last year, Kyle De Silva's performance in the finals in the night show, was amazing. So those are some big ones for me. There's a lot of other ones, I'm sure, and I'll go back to that 1995 one. So where I was talking to you about, who
Yeah.
of that group did you think won that Grands? So I
Can I
said
list it off again?
Butch Marks, Kingston Ing, Jimmy Pham, Guy Burkett, myself, Jonathan Hillsman, Justin Morgado. That's 7. Yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously I don't know. Otherwise I would have said it. Okay. So I'm going to pick a couple that I'm like, okay, they probably didn't win. I'm going to go, you didn't win because
I did not win. No.
you didn't win. I'm going to say Butch didn't win. I'm going to say Justin Morgado didn't win.
Nope.
Really,
Jonathan was a young
when you first brought it up, my knee-jerk reaction was Kingstoning.
in 95. He won a lot. Yeah, you're right.
So that's why I'm going to say Kingstoning. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, Guy Burkett won his first grand championship.
Dang it! I was
That
thinking,
time.
I'm like, did
And it
Guy
was
Burkett do some funny stuff?
He didn't
Did
like.
he,
He
did he
didn't
like
really win
sing?
that
Did he
many
take
other
his shirt
ones.
off? Did he sync his form with music again?
Yeah, like this was still. I mean, dude, it was just an epic form for him, winning
Yeah,
that, and it was a big upset, and just he was just
yeah.
killing it at that time. He didn't have the same. After that, it was a little different, but I mean, he was one of my favorite competitors to compete against, and also one of my favorites to watch because he was very innovative with some of the ways that he mixed his martial arts ability with his real gymnastics ability because he was a high level
Correct.
gymnast at that time. So it was cool, and his flexibility. So
His
he was
flexibility. One of the things I liked about Guy
credit
so
too at that
much
age
is
too.
he had a lot of creativity and he did a very good job of thinking outside of the box. Um, and I'll make an argument that I feel like I actually think in the 90s,
Oh, he was
actually I
underrated.
think there could have been more creativity than as a whole, all right?
Right.
Than there is. I don't want to say today because the guys today are so good.
There's a lot
But
of
the creativity is not the same though. So no, I'm gonna say that the creativity was greater then because the forms are better today. They're cleaner. They are definitely more difficult, right?
I don't
The
know if they're
levels,
clean
it's not
now.
questionable, right? They're so much better today. However, I think like the level of like thinking outside of the box, right? And the creativity to like, oh, who even thinks to do something like that? Like I actually think in the 90s you thought a little bit more about that than you did now. What
Yeah.
are we saying here?
I don't. Yeah, there's a lot, man. There's so many great moments from this, but yeah, I think Guy definitely is an underrated competitor. So what a lot of people don't know. Yes, people think okay, he was coached by Mike Chat, and he was, but he was also coached by Richard Brandon too. So like he was able to mix
Yeah.
like the soft style into his form back then. It was really cool.
When you watch his
All right.
form, I actually see more Richard Brandon than I do Mike Chat in his
Yeah.
forms anyway.
Yeah.
I see Wayne.
Yeah. Now you click, like, whoa, okay, that makes
Basically a
sense.
smaller version of him anyway.
Yeah. He was ripped like him too. It was crazy.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
that,
So
yeah.
we had a great discussion right now about that. All right. This weekend, guys, there was a lot of tournaments over the weekend. The Canadian Open was back. So congrats to those guys for having their tournament back. Kevin Walker wins the overall grands and the open weight final. Congrats to Kevin Walker going up there straight from the Dutch Open the week before, flying to Canada to do that and wins both of those. On the women's side, I believe the open weight was Karina from Straight Up, that's from Canada. And then the overall grands for women's was the newest member of Straight Up, Savannah Wolanoliak. So right now, Straight Up has 3 amazing fighters to their lineup. And man, like just seeing the different women that were there, Canada always has great fighters, right? And then you have the ladies from the Detroit area, Michigan area that went up there to compete, like Lynn and Avery, and then all of Straight Up. So it looked like an epic weekend for fighting. I believe, let's see, the Forums Championship was, am I blanking on his name? He just moved up to adults, or he won the Warrior Cup this year with this traditional form. I'm just having a blank. I will get that in a second. And then also Rose won for the females for forms. So
don't ask me for facts. Come to me for entertainment, possibly.
Yeah,
not
I know.
facts.
I don't know what I'm doing here. Why? Normally I'm good at that. Do we have an answer there for me? Yes, Matthew. Geez, Matthew Grushia. Sorry, I just tell him the little kid that I've known since he was like 6.
Thanks, Brett.
Yes, they used to compete against my son. It's like, hey. All right, so that was a big weekend. There were several AAU tournaments. There were several NKF tournaments. There was a big AAU Taekwondo tournament in Michigan this weekend. About 700 competitors out there for an AAU qualifier for nationals. So it was a state qualifier. Yeah. Karina and Savannah. Yep. And here we go. Yep, that's sweet. And then so we have that going on. For me, competing this weekend was interesting. It was like last year I did one qualifier for AAU Taekwondo, and then I went straight to nationals. And honestly, like I didn't get the whole, hey, you're the outsider kind of vibe, right? At nationals, honestly, because I won 3 out of the 4 divisions. I got 3 golds and a second, right? And a silver.
Okay.
So they treated me well and I did well. But this year, this tournament was a little different, right? I go in and honestly, my students are doing great. I bring about 8 students with me. Everyone kind of has the ups and downs. It's completely different environment, right?
Yes.
Some, competing head to head at the same time is very difficult and it's different. I'll explain why it's difficult and why it pumps me up, but why it's also like I don't usually get nervous that much anymore, but that makes me nervous. And I'll explain why.
Lean into that. Why? What makes you so nervous?
So if I'm going to go, even if I go head to head against someone, but when you're going at the same time, you can't see what they're doing. And so if I go and I do my form first and then they go, I'm like, okay, I have a good idea if I beat them or if they were as good as me or not, right? Or if they go first, I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn it up. Well, we go at the same time, not really sure, and I hear what form they're doing, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to rev it up a bit, right? So I don't know if they messed up or not, or if they nailed their form, if they were that good or not, right? This competitor that I went against him most of the things at nationals. And he did win the Tang Soo Do division at nationals. It was a little weird to me, right? No, I don't have any issue with crossing paths. I love that. That's my favorite part.
You do not love that. Do you? Wait a minute.
I love
Because
that.
you're in the same
I want
ring.
it to happen more often. I want to round kick someone. Boom.
I just think it should happen so that way they can expose how this should not happen.
It's
Because I don't
great.
agree
It's the
with
most
the 2
exciting
forms
event.
going at the same time in one ring. That's
It's the most
ridiculous.
exciting event. It's the most exciting thing there is, man.
It's
But
not the best.
so
Ah.
anyway, yeah. So as far as that part, that was just a little weird. I felt like I had a solid form, but it didn't go my way on that. Now the other thing that was different, so for weapons, they still do head to head, but they don't do it in the same ring, right? So it's one person goes head. Well, yeah, I mean, imagine that. That would be, especially if you're doing creative weapons, right? So they have a creative weapons division. So the guy goes and does his bow form. Then I went and did my nunchuck form. I won that one. I stepped off the mat. I immediately go up for first and second. I literally have I have 30 seconds. So I just run over, get my commas. All right, let's go. He goes, does his bow form, and I go do my comma form and win, right? So that was cool. It was a lot of fun doing that and doing that back to back. So I really like that. But there was just a lot of differences in that, right?
Can I ask a question?
Forms wise, overall, I feel like for most of the rings were judged pretty fairly. Some of them, I think there was some local favoritism, but it happens, at a regional level. It happens at a regional level. Point five was very different. Okay. Very different. Now,
Well,
if you look at the
before
rules,
you go to that, before you
Yes.
go to that, I want to ask a question because I want to understand what is the argument for having 2 forms in one ring at the same time?
that the judge, so the argument for it, one,
Yeah.
it's a challenge. That's one for me. 2, you really are seeing and you're feeling whose presence is going to be felt more. It's more like a fight head to head. AAU karate and a lot of the other circuits on the traditional side do that as well. So you have that, right? Now, could you do, I think in one way, though, it was probably created so that way they could save time because they like the head-to-head format because it is better to say, all right, you're better, you're this, you're that, without having a technical, oh, your foot was not like this and that and everything else. And yes, a side-by-side comparison, you can kind of tell. It's completely different. You look at someone by itself and do a score, and then you look at them together, it's different. Sometimes that person is intimidated by the other person. You know,
I can totally see that.
So I just think it's different, and for me, it's fun and it's challenging. That's why, you know, I like it. I like that I get nervous. I like that it challenges me in a different way. Now,
so I was doing that one time in a WTF Taekwondo tournament. A couple times. I think it was like 2 or 3 times, right? And they had guys doing that, and like the guy was running the tournament, he was like, "No, don't do Gaebaek." He said this like weeks and weeks before, maybe like a month before. He goes, "Don't do Gaebaek." And I'm like, "Why not?" And he goes, "Because you're going to lose." And I'm like, "I'm not going to lose." And he goes, "Yes, you are." Yeah. Because you don't do it the way we do it, so you're going to lose. And he goes, "Just go do your open form," because it was 2000. That's what we called them, guys. And I'm like, "But don't you guys do forms in the ring at the same time?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it. We'll let you do the form by yourself in the ring." And I'm like, I feel like this is cheating, right?
Wow,
and so they had guys that were making their own forms, but then some of them would go in the rings together, and sometimes they wouldn't. Like there wasn't really, it didn't seem like there was a structure.
So WT doesn't even, well, first, WT doesn't do Gaebaek, so there's no way. But they do have creative forms, so that's weird too. Maybe you were at an AAU. Maybe you had an AAU tournament you didn't know.
No, it was WT. It 100% was WT.
All right. Well, Gaebaek's not WT form, so you should have been DQ'd anyway.
Well, I didn't do it.
Good. Yeah. All right. Anyways, so one of the biggest things for the 0.5, which was weird to me, and I asked because I really liked that, you know, I had a judges before I went. I took a course online just to kind of help me understand the rules more and actually give me a visual look at what it should be, right? Okay. But when I get there in one of the rings, apparently, and this kind of goes back to when we were talking about diamonds when you were centering. So when they say break, this isn't a rule, but it's not a rule. It's a weird thing. They don't have to go back to their spots. Okay. They can stay right where they're at. The judge calls the point and then you go again. I don't know why.
So we could be in like the corner.
Yeah. And so one of the judge says, "Well, yeah, I just got that spot and that's a good position for me. Why should I have to get rid of it?" Like, but you just got drilled with a D side kick. So was it that, you know, like, so, I don't know. So then I asked, all right, well, and I was freaking out because this was happening to my fighter. And I'm like, why is this? What are you doing? Put him back in the center. You know, we don't have to do that. I'm like, well, all the other rings have been. It's not a rule. Come to find out, the other rings, when I asked them, why are you guys having them in the center and they're not? Oh, well, we're not. They're just going there on their own because they're used to it. Okay, so what is the rule?
Okay.
There's not a rule that says you can't do it. You know, and I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of like the case of where you're the center and you said the rule is just that you have to start behind the line. Doesn't say that you have to start on the line.
You don't have to be on the line.
Same thing. But when I asked the head of the rules committee, well, all right, why wasn't this in the coaches thing that I watched? So that way I know, because this changes everything. Because this really affected for my fighter, because she's doing D sides, drilling her, but then the girl right after was on top of her, waiting for to go and just going. And we're at the back of the ring for most of the fight. I'm like, okay, we have to change. I'm learning and teaching her as she's going. I'm like, that should have been in there. Well, we wouldn't put that in there because it's not a rule.
So wait, I want to
that was a big deal
to wrap my head
for me
around
to
this.
try to. It's just different, right? I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's just different.
So let's say we're fighting. Me and you are fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jeff he's going to get me, but I need to get position. So I sacrifice a kick to the body and you light me up. Right. I take off, I get as close to you as I can. Pow, you get me. And I'm like on you. They say, stop. We both can just stay right there.
Yes. Now,
So that now I'm so
what I can-
close, you may not even be able to pick up and kick before I can get you.
exactly.
So
Well, that
I
was
want to
what's
ask a
happening.
follow-up
Now,
question.
on the other end, what I had to tell my
Okay.
fighter was, when they say break, start moving around. Go ahead, start moving around. Don't stop. Just move
That was my
around.
next question.
Get
Is
to a better
if
position.
in that scenario, could you just like, all right, well, I'm going to move over here?
Yeah, apparently you could. Now the center looked at my
Here's the
guy
rule.
weird that way. But
This
here's
is
the other
chaos.
thing. There's a lot of, because of their point fighting coming from Olympic style. And Olympic style, there's running, right? You're not allowed to run. You're really not allowed to circle. So if you did that, kind of moved, they would call you for avoiding the fight. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I just cut an angle. Like, one of my kids cut an angle and then blitzed the guy. And they, instead of giving him the point for the angle, they gave him a penalty for running away, like evading. I'm like,
avoiding
wait,
the
what
fight.
are we doing here? Yeah. So that was very
Wow.
different. And so for me, it's I'm not sitting here to complain. I'm just saying, I'm explaining as my job here as a podcaster, and about the sport, which I love a lot of things about AAU Taekwondo. That's why I'm doing it. But
Yeah.
there's differences, right? There's always things, right? They have, their point systems pretty much similar to WKC, WACO, all that's the same. They are very strict about, if you fall down, no matter what, someone's going to get a penalty. Okay. If you fall down on your
I like
own,
that.
you're going to get a penalty. It's just black and white. If someone falls down, you're getting a penalty. If you kicked them, if you fell down because you kicked them down, all right, they're off. If you push the person down, okay, you're getting the penalty point because that's illegal. So I'm
Dude,
fine with it.
Can I tell you
What?
something along those lines?
What?
It's really funny. So I love that rule, by the way, about the falling down. So my daughter, she is really tough. I mean, she's 7 now, right? But she's like I've coached 7-year-olds. She's not the greatest 7-year-old that's ever walked the planet. I understand this, but she's pretty tough. So, but when she throws fits and she throws herself on the ground, I'm like, oh, you know the rule. You hit the ground. Yeah, that's 20 push-ups. And she goes, 20, Dad? And she's 7. And I'm like, you're the one who went on the ground, not me. So she knows, right? I like this rule. I like this rule in AAU. So anybody who goes down, like if you go down to the ground, there's a penalty in some way, shape, or form that's likely coming.
That's going to happen. Yeah, if you touch your hand to the ground, it's all right. So they have like, and I can't remember the names, the Korean names. It's pretty much like a warning. If you get 2 of these warnings, then it's a point the other way. Then there's some penalties that are higher, so that's just an automatic point the other way. But it's So there's that. They have the coaching rule where you can, you have the 10 seconds. So they kind of took that from NBL. They do. It's not, if it's tied, it's not first point. It's a golden round. So it's a 1 minute extra round. Okay. No timeouts in that. And in that round, you have to win by 2. So that's their rules on that. Now, I didn't really see that happen that often. In all the regular ones, you just win by 1, but in the golden round, you had to win by 2. So that was different. It was interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I mean, I had people that won by the skin of their teeth. I had a student that won all of her fights like 11-0, 10-0, and then I had people that I thought got, like, we were up by 5 and somehow we lost because of phantom kicks that hit the arm. Like, there was things like that.
Yeah, there's going to be that. Yeah.
There's going to be that. But my thing is that there's a lot of, if you hear a roundhouse kick to the body and you hear like a smack, it's probably the glove, right? Because your body doesn't sound that way, right? And And so the problem is that there was a lot of noise being made. So they call on hearing, and you know why? Because they're used to Olympic sparring with the
with the Hogu.
Yes, the Hogu. And so for it to really count, it had to make noise back then, right? So there are some like that. So that part is different, you know. And again, I'm not here trying to bash AAU. I've been pushing AAU big time.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about the next turn. Tim Simmons put on a great event. And also the event in Michigan was a great event. So and they were super hospitable to me. So I'm just explaining things that I just told them, hey, I just think this could be, if you explain it more, it would help me as a coach and also my students too, and everyone kind of have a better experience. So, but that was a fun, you know, event. As far as, you know, there was several people that were on the AAU point fighting team, AAU forms team that were there. My student, you know, my students did well. You know, my student Everett won his first adult division. Cameron Whittington was there competing. He got bronze in that division. They had about 11 or 12 in that division. So to win, you had to do, I think, 4 or 5 forms. So it's legit, man. Then in the one in Michigan, my student Brendan Fragic from 313, he won 4 of his divisions, all of his forms divisions. So, and from Noah from Team Revolution won his 2 divisions. So overall, just, you know, great events going on. And yeah, I'm excited for nationals in July. So yeah, don't read too much. don't get too confused on that one. All right. Thank you for all the feedback in the comments, guys. All right.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're getting me confused with some of these comments too, buddy. I love the comments. Keep them coming.
Women's fighting, man. So I'm pumped up. I'm really pumped up because we got really, like, we're getting teams that are building like their arsenal of women, right?
Yep.
Not just for women's
team fighting division. Good.
But women's open weight, women's grands. That way we're getting more and more women. And we know at a tournament that is, let's say a straight up team tournament, we're going to get 3 high quality women there. If we have a revolution, a big revolution tournament, we're going to have 4, maybe 5, 6 women there competing and fighting, right? You're going to have John Paul Mitchell. You have 2 of the best women in the world there. If it's a team fighting event, I mean, it's a team event, right? You have Diamond that has, heck, if they're going to bring their Mexican team, they're going to bring their Latin, their Florida team, if they're going to bring their Canadian team, they're going to have so many different fighters. It's going to be awesome, right? So, and then there's more too. I mean, you have Army team that has 3 amazing, actually, I think 4. Yeah, 4 amazing.
Yeah, they got a few good fighters.
Yes. So, and I'm sure I'm missing some other ones too, right?
Well, I think what's interesting.
Top 10 USA now has, you know, has great competitors. So it's just nuts, man.
Well, I think what's interesting is what we've said in years past. I'm going to say that it's still consistent, is that Europe is a lot deeper in the, not just the overall talent, but the sheer numbers of the pool of women fighters that there is to pull from. So there's just a lot in every division. Sure, there's going to be some divisions that don't have as many as others, but that's the same for the men, right? There's going to be some men's heavyweight, you know, divisions at certain tournaments where there's going to be 3 people. You know, that'll happen. You know, maybe 2. That'll happen, right? What are you going to do? Right? I remember a division one time where there was like, it was probably 10 years ago. It was me, Raymond, and Chance Turner. That was the men's light heavyweight division at this specific tournament, right? So sure, you're going to have that, right? But then you're also going to have 25 people deep in one division, you know, in a light middleweight or whatever you may have. So, but I think what we're seeing is that the level of talent is starting to increase, and the number of competitors as a whole is starting to increase, which if that one continues, then everyone just starts to get better.
Yeah.
So if you think
Um,
about it, like okay, I'm not gonna say who, but there was this guy who owns a couple karate schools, and there was another karate school that opened up um a mile from him. Actually, probably less. It was really just a few blocks.
was
And
it
he was
Johnny
all
Daniel? Were their
say
names
what?
Johnny? Were any of their either of their names Johnny or Daniel?
No. Right. But see where you're going. So um he was really pissed. And he was the best, in that area. And he's all
Yeah.
upset because he's not going to get the same amount of people. And I said, I actually think this is really good for your business. Right. And he goes, no, I just want to be the only show in town. I want it when anytime anybody thinks of martial arts or anybody thinks of karate, they just think of me. And I'm like, yeah, but that's small time, right?
Right.
That's big time, small time. I'm like, but if you have 6, 7 karate schools in your town, and he goes, that'd be horrible. I wouldn't have the numbers. I'm like, you'd have more numbers. But he didn't see it that way
Right.
because what I tried to explain to this person, and it's not that different in competition, really in kind of any avenue, is if there are, let's just say that 6 or 7 good, viable martial arts schools. Now that's the culture. Remember when Damian Rodriguez was on and he was talking about competition
martial
culture?
arts.
It's the same type of thing. This is business culture, right? You could replace martial arts schools with donut shop, right?
Right.
If everybody in your town is eating donuts, guess what everybody in your town wants to do? If all they see is donuts, eventually they're going to start to eat some damn donuts, right?
Correct.
So it's the same
Correct.
thing with martial arts schools, right? If every
Yep.
time, right, they kind of look up, they see a martial arts school, eventually they're probably going to try a martial arts school, right? So it's not a bad thing, right? How many
Exactly.
times, I want to say this to you, Jeff, I'm going to ask you because I don't know the answer to this, but I think I do. How many times have you had someone who calls you, emails you, comes into your school for the first time, say, yeah, I've actually seen you around for a while. This is my first time calling or my first time coming in. How often do you hear that?
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah. That you
Happens all the
mean
time.
first time? Oh yeah, happens all the time.
First
Yeah.
time someone reaches out, whether they come into your school, they call you or they email you, by the time that you're talking to them, they say, yeah, I've actually seen you for a while. This is just the first time I'm coming in or first time I'm calling. Does that happen pretty often?
All right, say it again. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay. The
Go ahead.
first time when somebody calls you, they say, hey,
Yes.
just, want to get involved, want to get started, just wanted to get some info. Right.
Yeah.
And if you were to
Yeah.
ask them like, sure, how'd you hear about us? If they were to say, yeah, I've actually seen you around for a while. This is just my first time coming in or first time
Yeah,
calling.
yeah,
How
yeah.
often does that happen?
A lot, like multiple times during the week. Yeah. All the time.
I would think I would be willing to bet that might be almost every single one of your conversations. Right? Because it's
Well, a
not
lot of
just that
people don't know.
they physically see your building with their eyes.
I see.
They see
Yeah.
that you're around. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
But
All right.
now let's
I got
bring
you.
it back full circle. All right. When we see, right, more women competing, now we don't have a perception that like, who's going to be there? Who's going to be at the next one? I don't know. Like, right? Right?
I got you.
Like you never have to wonder, like, I don't know.
Took you a while to get there,
men
but
middleweight? There's going to be men middleweight fighters, right?
right.
So you don't even question that. You just go and you fight.
I got you. It took you a while to get there. I didn't know where we were going with this, but I got you now. I got you. It's so funny. After AKA, you were talking about, man, Joe Boone has the longest stories on this. Yo,
He does.
It's funny you telling someone that. Okay. All right. Anyways, all right. Let me explain what I put the link out, guys. So, I remember I shared with you guys that I went to do a Century photo shoot and some interviews and stuff. So, the links that I just put out were the first one was the interview with myself and Cameron Klaus, and It's on Century's YouTube channel. So it's really cool. Just a real insight into my life as a competitor, my training, maybe some things that you probably heard already on the podcast. But me getting to interview Cam back and forth, we had a great time. And then the second one is the females version, which is Amber Rutherford and Kaylin Kowalski interviewing each other. And just really, it was just us chatting. We have a bowl of questions. We put it out, and it's like, what's your most embarrassing moment from a term? That was the first one, right? And we kind of went back and forth sharing that. Then it was, what's your go-to food before and after tournaments? Okay. There's, what's your biggest milestone in your career? I don't know. I think there was a lot of things, right, that I could kind of talk about, right? So, what's your mindset for training? There's so much. It's really a fun interview. Go and check it out. If you want to watch it in pieces, do that. But please share it, guys. So that way, that gets out and goes over there. So you guys can do that. I can't open it on screen right now. I don't have that ability. But I just shared it all over Facebook and Instagram. So go out and do that. And we'll probably break it up a little bit as well, so you guys can watch some of it in smaller clips. But it was a fun time. And this is just the first of the things that we did over there for Century that's going to be out. So check it out and click on that. All right. Do's and don'ts. This is how we're going to end the show today. Do's and don'ts.
Great
of sport
closing
karate.
segment.
So I'm sitting at this tournament and I'm realizing, so one thing for forms, we all have to wear white uniforms, right? And I'm realizing that, why do all my students have like t-shirts on under their tie uniforms? And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all aren't supposed to be wearing t-shirts. Like the girls, yeah, you're supposed to wear maybe a plain white t-shirt or something, right? But you shouldn't be wearing like one kid had like a gray t-shirt, and I'm like, yo, we were at a tournament. What are y'all doing? And I'm like, well, you always have one on at the karate school. I'm like, well, that's different. It's not the same. So that's a do at the karate school, but a don't at a tournament. Okay. And I feel like there are certain things like that, right? There's things that we do at the karate school that we would never do at a tournament. Like wearing a lightweight uniform in forms and stuff is something that we would do at the karate school because it's light and it's hot and we're training. But we probably shouldn't do that in traditional forms, right? There's, wearing a t-shirt. For me, this is what's weird. I never wear a t-shirt under my uniform when I'm doing forms, right? Okay. There's only one person I know, a high-level person, that does that, and that is Daryl Lewis. Daryl Lewis always wear a t-shirt under it. And there's some people that wear like a wife beater, like back in the day, right?
Like an A shirt, yeah.
Sorry, I said that. I don't know if I could say that word. My bad. Don't cancel me. All right. So, anyways.
It's the t-shirt. It's the shirt. You didn't do nothing.
When it goes to sparring, I would always put a t-shirt on and then slip my top one. I don't know why. It's just what I always did. Because, wearing my bowl look uniform, I would do that. And yes, do I still like wearing a bowl look uniform? I do. And I like wearing my pullover Century old school uniform, my V-neck uniforms. I like wearing those.
Dude, the bowl look super lightweight is still underrated.
Yes. So anyways, that to me is a don't, right? Don't wear a t-shirt.
Specify. Don't wear it at all when you're doing forms. No t-shirt underneath.
Right. Especially like don't have like last tournament t-shirt on under your uniform, right? No, don't do it. Necklaces, actually, in a lot of systems, that's illegal. In a lot of the rules, like you're not supposed to have necklaces and stuff.
My gosh, this whole conversation's bothering me. I would not wear a t-shirt, but any of it. Never. I would never have a t-shirt on underneath. Never.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree. But
I would, even in the karate school, in forms, and fighting, I would never wear it. Now, you brought up a point about wearing it at the karate school. Mention that.
All right. So the reason why, for me as an instructor, I wear a t-shirt underneath my uniform is because I think of it as a professionalism type thing, right? All right. If I have my uniform, my tie over uniform, that a lot of times when you're working out, you're teaching, this string unties. Guess what? My chest is all exposed, and I'm trying to teach little kids or, a young girl or a mom, and my chest is all out. Sorry, that's not really professional. So I think of it as that way, not necessarily as the most professional thing. So that's why I always wear a t-shirt underneath. T-shirts first, this. So I just think of, to me, it's a little icky, right? So yeah.
You know what? As long as you're mentioning that, I got this funny little thing. There was this guy I used to teach with, and it like almost everything he did bothered the heck out of me. And he was on the larger side of things. Okay. And he would make an excuse to have the air conditioning at like 61 degrees 12 months out of the year. Right. So in the summertime, his excuse was, dude, son's beating down in the lobby. Like the parents, like they're the ones paying the bills. You can't make them just sit here and sweat, otherwise they won't want to be here. Right? He justifies it in his head, but I'm like, dude, you just don't want to be out there sweating bullets because you're 415 pounds. He wasn't 415 pounds. I'm obviously exaggerating. I'd never exaggerate on the show ever, but anyway,
never.
So he would say that, but then I'm like, bro, it's like January 9th. Right. Can we cut the air conditioning?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, it's unprofessional. If I'm out here like in the classroom and I'm just the instructor of the class is just sweating through his shirt, that looks unprofessional. And I'm like, you're kind of the outlier here, right? It's just funny the way he would like try to like twist it to where in the wintertime he has to have it on because he's sweating through it. In the summertime, he's got to have it on because they're going to be sweating. And I'm like, whatever, man.
Whatever. Yeah. That's interesting.
Meanwhile, I'm freezing.
Brett, you're right. The cup on the outside uniform, that's a don't. Don't ever do that. Don't do it, guys. Don't freaking do it. And don't say Bo staff. Sorry. That's one for me. Don't say Bobo or staff. I don't go around saying hi, hello, or sorry, hi, hola, or, like goodbye, sayonara. No, I don't say that, Sorry. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple that I've thought of as well. So some are like attire and some are etiquette. So do push the people you're training with. Do call them out.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to, if this is your personality, trash talk them a little bit, right? Tell them, dude, that was soft as cottonelle tissue. You had nothing on that punch. You plan to stop someone? You ain't stopping me, right? Get the heck out of here with that. I'm gonna kick you in the face next time you try something like that. Yeah, and just and you're having fun. Now that you're saying that, right? And you're training, you're in the school. You better back it the hell up. You know what I mean? Do not say that in competition. Do not do anything like that. Do not. Yes, I am the guy telling people that they should keep their mouth closed. Right. But it seems like for those of you who have never seen me compete, it seems like I would have been the guy talking trash. But really, I never really said anything. I never really talked like ever at all. Right. Because that's just what you just never do that. My instructors always said like they would like really get on you. Right. Like, no. You don't talk. You let your hands and feet do the talking. I'm like, that's boring.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to have to do something pretty cool. I'm going to let my hands and feet do the talking, right? Which also maybe says a little bit more about why my style of fighting as well. But anyway, I think that another thing would be, listen, it's okay to have some mismatched gear if you're out there training because it don't really matter that much. Don't come in looking like your gear has the same style and expiration date from 1987. Right?
Yo, that's what I look like every time I go and spar at a tournament.
You do not. Stop, Jeff.
Dude, did you see a video of me last time? I had a rash guard, some top 10 pants, Century shoes, 2 different colored gloves, a macho helmet. I have all the different ones. I mean, usually
Don't
I used to
anybody
like
ever don't
what I
anybody
used
ever
to
do
always
this.
like
Never
doing.
do this.
Always like wearing like one color foot pad,
Oh, I
like
hate this.
like a white one and like a black one, and then opposite on the other. So like that, yeah,
Now,
like no, it didn't match, but it was kind of cool.
I will say, if you want like one different color thing, like that's kind of okay. Like, all right, we talked about Justin Ortiz. He used
Yeah,
to wear all black gear, but then like his right foot was red. It was
right,
that was he called it his
right.
hot foot, which I was like,
Yeah,
at one point I'm looking at him, I'm like, this looks so cheesy. And then he called
well,
it his
see,
hot foot. And I'm like, never mind. Now it's cool.
yeah, but see, I was always a fan of, and I've been trying to get my students for well, because I always do. I wear a blue top with black pants, right, tucked in with the like the pullover old school top. My favorite uniforms were like one color with another one color, right? Like the JPM when they had all white top with all black pants, right? I love that.
Okay.
There were like, and we would do that sometimes too. To me, that was just cool to me. Like, and I still love doing that now. It's like I'm gonna wear my white Grand Slam top with the black pants, or a black top with blue pants, something different. Because I like it's just me, right? I like that. But
I
but
think
yeah.
I
Anyways,
think
that's that. All
someone
right,
needs
another
to
there's another
design
Jeff.
Jeff a new uniform. So that way Jeff comes out with a custom Jeff Doss uniform. Somebody do this. This guy
Listen,
needs some custom gear. He
listen,
needs a custom uniform because you have high class living skill and ability, and you're coming
yeah,
out with
listen,
gear and uniforms like you just pulled it from the community bin.
listen. So, no. I have new stuff. I have way too many uniforms. Okay, way too many
I would
uniforms. All right.
assume that. So why you come
But
out with like mixed match stuff?
anyways, I do it on purpose. But the issue is, so when I got on Revolution, like, all right, go on Century, pick what type of uniform you want. And I think they kind of were expecting, they were expecting, okay, which black uniform do you want for forms? Which white uniform do you want
Oh,
for
what'd you pick?
for traditional? And I'm like, yo, can you give me this pullover uniform that's white and black with this and that, like the 90s uniforms, right? And then I want to wear that for forms. They're like, wait, what? Like, no, you can't do what? That's not our team thing. I'm like, I was asking for all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, yo, what
Should have
about a
got like
white
should have seen if
pullover
they had
with
any checkered uniforms.
green pants? Well, I don't even know if I can do green pants. I don't know if I can pull off green pants, but we can
What
maybe
do you mean you
work.
don't know if you could pull off cream pants?
The craziest uniform I ever had to wear was a local team I was on, and it was a white, I mean, no, a black red rec suit top with all hot yellow pants, like mustard yellow pants. Yeah, it
Ugh.
was like, woo, it was way too much. um,
Dude, some
all
people
right,
chime in the chats. What are some of the most, we'll say,
do's and don'ts.
interesting uniforms you've seen or worn? Maybe it was
Yes.
maybe
All right.
some of the ones that you've worn.
Can I go with another don't that I actually had to do this weekend because it was rule?
Yeah, do it.
So, all right. And there's different things with traditional and stuff. So, especially in the Japanese Okinawan realm, you don't really roll your sleeves up, right? At tournaments.
Ooh, correct.
A lot of times you well, I've never seen that. That's a crazy one. Someone wore a wrestling singlet at a karate tournament. All right, you
Oh boy.
just redeemed yourself, Jonathan,
We
with
need
this one.
we need some media from that. We need some pics.
Yeah.
Somebody get some pics.
All right.
I think
So
Flex Wheeler competed topless.
yeah.
Makes
Anyways,
sense. Flex
so
Wheeler.
so you know, a lot of times they'll have them either they're already made with them at that length. A lot of times the good traditional
Yeah.
uniforms are, or people will have it hemmed or something like that, right? My uniform, my Revolution one was not. You are not allowed to roll your uniform up in AAU Taekwondo. So I get it for forms. I did it for my forms. But then I went and did weapons, which was actually a creative weapons division. And I had to wear all white uniform, all white traditional uniform with my sleeves rolled down. And it felt so weird to me. I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. And for me, that's a big no-no, even in my school. Like, why are you walking around with, your sleeves down and all this and that, right? And to me, the only reason why you do that is if you're a patch school. All right.
Oh,
All
like you
right.
get patches all up and
Your
down your
patches
sleeve.
all up, down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're all patched up, right? So if for me, like, and it's funny because in my system, I have one of the master's uniforms, and they look at me weird because I roll it up, and they're like, "Why don't you roll it up?" It's like, I mean, why do we're supposed to have it down? It's like, I'm not patched up, so no reason for me to have my sleeves down past my hands. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for that. So roll those sleeves up, show your guns. Look. To me, it just looks cleaner, but I don't know.
Okay, now what's the threshold? What's too high?
Oh yeah, above the elbow is way too high to me. Way
Because
too
that's
high.
the
Like
thing.
some like roll it up and it's just like all crinkly.
Yeah.
Like
I
almost
don't
like if
care
I
what
were.
you
They
do.
look like they look like if you're rolling the sleeves up to like what I'm wearing right now, which is kind of the style, right? People would be
Sure.
rolling it like that, all messed up and everything. Yeah, no.
Listen, we
Hey, sleeveless
I don't
uniforms as
care
well.
where
So,
you want
not
it. I do care how far someone rolls them up, but when you roll it up, whether you
thank
want it
you.
up past the elbow or you want it like middle of the forearm, whatever it is, how tight you roll that, and not roll, cuff. It should be a cuff, not a
Yeah,
roll,
you're
a
right.
cuff, because
Right.
there's a seam on the end
Yep.
of your uniform top. All right, cuff that, then make that thing flat.
Yep.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I
for
don't, I
like
don't like
years I
sleeveless.
was always middle of the forearm. Then I'm like, screw this. I'm bringing it right up to the bend of the elbow, which
Wow.
some people are like, that's way too high. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
And then you look over, and some people got it like right underneath their shoulder. We're like, what is this madness?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, the sleeveless, no.
Might as well just
Well, and then it
just
became
go
a thing,
sleeveless at that point.
right. And then it became a thing when the uniforms, the fighting uniforms start being here, so that was different. So, but yeah. Um,
Yeah, isn't that weird that it went
that's,
backwards? Like
yeah.
forms guys would roll them up past their elbow, and fighters would bring theirs down
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit more. Like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, now they're super high because they're like at a
Now they're
t-shirt.
up again.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, I don't know. These are just always, so I'm sure this could actually be a segment we do every week and that we'll come up with
Yeah,
do's and don'ts.
let's not blow it all right now.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that we hadn't even got into
Of
right
course.
now with that. But you know, here's one that was a thing, and I don't know why it drove me nuts,
And
but it was a
insiders, you guys can chime in with some of yours as well.
it was a thing in the NBL, and honestly, the first five or a few people that did it was cool. But then when it became a thing that everyone did, it drove me nuts. And what it was when people would walk in for musical forms, walk in, and then all of a sudden they would go like this, and then their voice would go over the speaker because they would pre-record their intro to it. Well, the thing
So
is,
they would
the
just
music,
lip sync.
yeah, or wouldn't even say it. So they're lip syncing their voice so people could hear over the speaker. Well, you're turning
Sounds a
the
little
music
bouncy.
down anyway, so couldn't you have just said it yourself? Like, or just speak louder. Like that drove me nuts, and I hated it. Some people loved it. Thought, oh, it's choreography. It's all no, it's stupid. But I don't know. That was my thing.
Why?
Yeah.
If the
And then
music
the other
is
thing is when people
going
don't
to
key
do it,
out, when people don't key out or don't yell or don't show intensity during musical forms, that drives me nuts too.
yeah, agreed. But what I'm trying to understand, so all right, so they go in to do their intro. The
So this is the thing.
music it's already pre-recorded, like
Yep.
judges representing Hobbity Booba, right?
It's actually
It's
kinda
already
how it
saying
sounded.
that, and they're just
Yeah.
timing it. Okay,
They
so why
bow,
open your mouth
boom,
at all?
judges. Well, I don't know if I don't. Some did do it like that. Some did open the mouth and lips. Some just kind of stood there, judges. So
I mean,
the
I'd
thing
rather you
is,
just
there
stand
was
there.
no attitude either. It was so weird because it was so like mute, almost like they had no like they had no rhythm. I don't know, no intensity, no presence. It was just weird. It was like
Well,
judge,
we've heard
uh,
things like that over the time, but like over the years, And I feel like that's one of those things that will always kind of come back, doing something like that. Let's hear what's Brett saying.
Oh, he's just saying they would a lot of them would speak along with it, and it was just cheesy as what you're.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Just don't.
The other don't.
Just don't do anything.
The other don't for me that I never did and never will do. Sequence uniform. Sequence uniform.
See, I disagree. Bring it back. Have some fun. Bring back the satin uniforms too. Have some fun with it. Why not? There'll be sequins all over the floor.
I agree. That was always especially when some of these people that took off their uniforms that were just skinny, that were like fat, that were not had guns. Like it never made any sense to me. Like, why are you doing that?
Just because you can see like not even a 6-pack, but like 4-pack. Okay, we talked about Guy Burkett. Listen, earlier in the show, Guy Burkett was freaking jacked, right? Guy Burkett was jacked, right? Now, so when he took his off, you'd be like, damn, look at this little kid's shoulders, right? You see just like stuff like that. But then, right, when you just take it off, when you just see skinny arms flailing around with like some abs, like doesn't look that good. Doesn't look good at all.
Right. I never got it, but oh well. All right, this has been fun.
Really fun.
This weekend is another NASCAR tournament, Cowboy Ups this weekend. Hope everyone has fun with that. Congrats to all the winners of all the tournaments that were happening this weekend. I think also Philly Pro-Am is this weekend. And Marty Eubanks tournament is this weekend. So lots of great events going to be happening. And Marty will be on in the next week or two. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun show.
That's going to be a fun show. And then we're just going to keep hyping up and letting you guys get ready and pumped up for Rhode Island. So, yep, tournament in Prince George this weekend in Virginia. Awesome, man. So keep up the great work, everybody.
All right. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you next week. Ocean State Grand Nationals virtual fight tour. Thank you guys. Support them.